What's going on, Sunbelt fans? I am your host, Dominic Crusetto. Welcome to Week 3 of Round Ball Roundup. We're going to jump right in. As we said last week at the tail of last week's episode, a little tamer this week with the schedule, considering the Thanksgiving holiday. There were a few tournaments to talk about, so we'll talk and touch on some of that stuff. But overall, conference comes away with a 19-10 overall record, which I think is pretty good. We were 1-1 against P5 opponents. That would be Texas State taking down California and Coastal Carolina going down to Missouri. So overall, pretty decent there. I didn't expect the Texas State victory. I didn't expect Coastal to beat Missouri either, but I was hoping Coastal would keep it a little bit closer. We'll jump into that in just a minute. We have one undefeated team left in the conference. That would be the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They continue to just get it done on the court. Very impressive for them overall. My prediction of them ending up near the bottom of the conference is definitely looking very silly right now, which is great. I didn't know what to expect from them. They had quite the turnover. As far as roster goes, moving conferences, it's hard to predict those types of things. But hey, this is awesome. To have an undefeated team left after 3 weeks into the season is impressive, and we'll see if they continue to keep that rolling going into Week 4. We've got most of the teams in the conference with a winning record. The vast majority of the teams within the conference winning record. We've got 2 or 3 teams down at the bottom that are either 500 or with a losing record. But no one's really bad. No one's winless or anything. So we've got some promise there. And even some of the records that aren't as good, again, as we've talked about a little bit, a lot of those are P5 defeats. So, maybe it toughens them up at the beginning of the conference schedule and bodes well for them in the end. But we'll see. Jumping into last week, we had a couple of G5 or mid-major conference lineups that we had. Louisiana Tech ends up taking down ULM. They're the team that really I was just talking about the most with the struggles early on. This one is one that even if you drop it to a team like La Tech, you want to see it be a little closer. That wasn't the case, unfortunately, for Louisiana Monroe. But, in a good sense, like we talked about before, Louisiana has beaten La Tech earlier this year, so a little bit of that triangle going on with those Louisiana teams and who's beaten who. Next game we'll talk about is the Power 5 victory we had as a conference, specifically Texas State over California, 59-55. Mason Harrell has shown up, folks. 21 points, went 2 for 4 from the three-point arc. And just had a great game overall and was the reason that they won this one. Now, we do have to mention, as much as Cal is from a Power 5 conference and a pretty decent basketball conference overall, Cal, at the time, winless on the season. So it's a victory that they should have, Texas State should have, especially with the caliber and the fact that they were predicted to be mostly 1 or 2 in the conference, depending on what you looked at. So definitely one that you feel like they should have come away with. They win 59-55, great victory for the conference to kind of hang their hat on as well. Arkansas State takes care of UT Martin. Not a huge matchup, but UT Martin's pretty decent in basketball, so a good win there for Arkansas State. Again, we're talking about Southern Miss continuing to win. It's not even the fact that they're winning. They're beating a team like Winthrop, who is routinely in the tournament conversation. They come from a little bit of a smaller conference, but again, a pretty strong basketball school. They didn't just beat them. They beat them 77-52. So a very impressive victory, not only in the win column, but just in how it looks on the final scoreboard, right? So Troy gets over 100 points. We had another game where Georgia Southern went over 100, and then Southern Miss closed out the week going over 100. So 3 teams, again, going over that 100-point mark. That's really awesome to see there. 4 teams, I'm just seeing that James Madison barely hit that 100-point mark, but they did have it against somebody in the Savannah Invitational when they beat somebody 100-54. So another impressive victory for JMU to get under that triple digit on the scoreboard. But last couple games we'll touch on. Again, Missouri takes down Coastal Carolina 89-51, so not a terrible loss, but as far as the score goes, you'd love to see that lead be a little bit closer, a little bit more challenging. App State beats ETSU. We had somebody earlier in the year play ETSU. Again, App State had to kind of come from behind to get that one, but they win that one close to the end there, 74-70. So a good victory there against another perennial team that's pretty good overall. East Carolina took on Old Dominion, and Old Dominion took care of business, folks, 71-50. So a great victory there for ODU. Again, we've talked about their matchups on the football field and on the basketball court. Hopefully those two teams continue to schedule each other. Again, possibility of ECU looking at the Sun Belt a little differently than they had in the past. We'll table that discussion for a little bit later. But on the scoreboard for basketball, great win there for ODU. And we'll touch on Belmont escaping from Georgia State, unfortunately. Belmont goes and wins 68-66. Georgia State continues to have those really close games. I'm telling you, if Georgia State could have had a couple slightly different plays here, their record would look vastly different. And I think it's going to bode well for them down the stretch, but they've got to make those little changes right there at the end of the game, start hitting some free throws, a little bit better rebounding, and those are the simple things to clean up to improve what's been going on there in Atlanta. But overall, again, good week, 19-10 overall. Now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit after the Thanksgiving holiday, before the Christmas one hits. We have some great matchups coming up this week, and we will get back to you on week 4 coverage. Thanks for listening. Again, follow us on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We've got them all, and we will continue to cover the conference as best we can. See you later.